sometimes in order to tell the whole story, you got to go back to the past a little bit. And that's where this episode takes us for a little while. So I hope you guys stay. May is NF Awareness Month. Thank you for coming back to another episode of the Chronicles of the Bearded Dad. Thanks for coming back, guys. May is NF Awareness Month, or Neurofibromatosis Awareness Month. Now, unfortunately for me, it's impossible to tell my whole story without telling the story of neurofibromatosis. It has affected my life in multiple ways, and it has kind of helped mold me into the person I am today. That's just the reality. So, just to give you guys a quick rundown on exactly what neurofibromatosis is, I've written down some stuff. Sorry, some of this stuff's a little hard to remember, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world. So, neurofibromatosis, or NF for short, is an under-recognized genetic disorder that can cause tumors to grow on nerves throughout the body. Now, myself, I've had multiple surgeries. You can see the scar here. There's another one on this side, and there's one on the back of my head. I'm not going to, turn the camera around and all that to show you guys, but the one in the back of my head, I believe, is actually the largest one on my head. I've also got small ones on my arms. Okay. And I've got one on my ribs. I've had quite a few surgeries to have what they call schwannomas removed. Now, schwannomas are just little tumors that grow throughout the body and not your classic neurofibromatosis type 2 places. So, what's neurofibromatosis type 2? Here you go. NF has 3 distinct forms. You have NF1, NF2, and schwannomatosis. Schwannomas, again, are just small tumors that grow throughout the body. Type 2 is the second most I don't want to say popular. That's not the right word. Second most common. That's better. Okay. Second most common form of NF, affecting 1 in every 25,000 people. Okay. It is caused by a mutation in the genes located on chromosome 22. That all sounds very scientific. Basically, okay, so if your regular male or female had a genetic code written up, and it's 60 some odd letters that makes up a code, if you will. Think of it like a computer program, right? And it's male is AB, 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 AB all the way through. And female is AC, AC, AC all the way through. Well, you get to this 22nd chromosome and there's like a G thrown in there for no reason, which causes our own bodies to produce these benign tumors that grow just about anywhere that you can think of, really. I've even got one in a spot right on my ass. There you go. I just said it. I've got one right on my ass. I've never really dealt with it, though. It's on the cheek. It's on the meat. Whatever. It'll sit there until it becomes a problem, I guess, and then I'll deal with it. Told you guys I was going to disclose everything, and we just talked about my butt. Congratulations. We've gone as far as we can go together. That's that. No. So, neurofibromatosis type 2 has affected my life in more ways than most people could probably ever comprehend. Not just physically, but mentally. It affects the way you think, it affects the way you do things, and it affects the way you approach life a lot of times. You change your way of thinking and stuff because you're always expecting this to kind of come back up and give you a reminder that it's still in your life and it's still going to give you problems. Now, for most people, it is a genetic thing. So it is passed down. Your mother. So for me, my grandmother had it. My mother had it. I'm her only child. I had it. But for my family as a whole, my grandmother had 4 kids. 2 did have it, 2 did not have it. My uncle had 2 kids. 1 did, 1 did not. It tends to skip a generation. I can't even say a generation, really, because it's not like it skips a generation. It skips a person from time to time. And it's really just the luck of the draw, if you will. There's no rhyme or reason to why someone gets it and why someone doesn't. It just happens. So for me, my mother had dealt with it most of her life without really even knowing what she was dealing with. It was so unknown at the time that people didn't even diagnose her with what she had for a long time. So once they did, they began testing me and getting me checked to make sure I didn't have to worry about this, which for the younger part of my life meant every year I'd have to go for an MRI. Now, if you've ever been inside of one of these machines, it's not exactly the best experience of your life. They're tight, it's loud, it's very confining, and when you're 6'4" like I am, it's even less fun. You just feel like you're in there completely being crushed, but it's part of what we have to deal with. So the funny part was that when I was younger, it wasn't the MRI that discovered this. It was a football game. I know, you're all like, how does that make sense? I went to a Giants game with my grandfather, actually. And the Giants had just scored a touchdown. And I went to jump up with all the rest of the fans and, and start cheering and slapping high fives. And as I did, the stadium did a complete 360 on me. It just completely spun around. I lost my balance and I fell back in my chair. And my grandfather looked at me and asked me if I was okay. And I said I didn't know. So rather than wait for my yearly checkup, we made the phone call and had me go in a little bit earlier to get an MRI done just to be on the safe side. I'll never forget this because I was just starting my sophomore year in high school. So I was getting past that whole freshman hazing period, and now I was like, yeah, I'm a sophomore now. Things are going to be a little different. I was kind of looking forward to my sophomore year. And it was about the third or fourth day of school. I can't remember exactly which day. I came home. I walked in the door. I had a buddy of mine with me who came over just about every day at this point. And my grandfather looked at my buddy and was like, you got to go home. I got to talk to my grandson. So he left, and my grandfather looked at me and said they found something on the MRI. So we went, talked to the neurosurgeon, and they had found 2 tumors. Now, that's another characteristic of NF type 2, is that they grow bilaterally in your inner ear area up here. So that's why there's one here and one here. They were both there at the same time. And because of the location of them, they are known to affect your balance, coordination, your hearing, just a little bit of everything. And they can also cause one of the most annoying things on the planet, which is tinnitus, or if you don't know what that means, it's ringing of the ears. Now, for me, and for a lot of my family, this is ringing of the ears times 1,000,000 sometimes. Because every now and again, it feels like there's a volume control sitting behind our ear, and somebody tweaks that thing up to 1,000,000, and you just get this extremely sharp and loud ping. Now, it only lasts a few seconds, but it hurts and it sucks. It's not fun, and there's no rhyme or reason to when it's going to happen. I've been woken up by them. So while ringing of the ears might not sound like a terrible thing, I promise you it can drive you nuts sometimes. And the other thing that accompanies these is headaches. I don't not go through a day without headaches anymore, okay? At this point, I gauge my day based on how bad the headache is. If it's like a 3 or a 4, that's a pretty good day. 7, 10 are the days where I'm just kind of shut off and you don't see me in the beard world much. I'm just kind of keeping to myself and just trying to get through the day. But anyways, again, so the doctor locates these tumors and he kind of left it up to me. He said that we could monitor them and see what they did. And if they got bigger, we could deal with them then, or we could set up the surgery. Now, for me, again, I was 15 years old. For me, my thinking was, well, why am I going to leave them? Why am I going to wait? That could just cause more problems down the road, couldn't it? If they get bigger, isn't the surgery going to be that much harder to recover from, that much worse to walk out of still being me? That was my biggest concern. I wanted to walk away from this and still be me. I'm only 15 here. I don't want to be changed forever. I still got a long life ahead of me. So instead I said, you know what? I'd rather do the surgeries. And then he said, okay, well, we can do them, do the first one, schedule the next one a year from now. No, I'm not dragging this out forever. I'd like to do them as close as possible. So we set it up to where I went for my first surgery, I think it was about 2 weeks after they found them, maybe even less, okay? And then right after New Year's, we scheduled me to come in for my second one, as long as everything went okay with the first surgery. And that was, to me, the best game plan I had. Get this done and move past if I can. So the first surgery was scheduled, and I remember my father really thinking I was nuts because he woke up that morning. I didn't sleep. I don't know if he slept really either, but he came downstairs and saw me in the living room, and he was like, what kind of person watches Aliens before they're getting ready to go have their head cut open? Because again, you know, it's Aliens. You know, there's blood and guts everywhere, and I'm getting ready to go have brain surgery. He just thought it was weird. So I went, and most of my family was there. My immediate family, they were all there. My mother, my stepmother, my father, they were all there. My uncle and his family were there. A lot of family came to support me. And through sheer just luck and grace and whatever you want to call it, I was able to walk away from that first surgery pretty well. The only thing that went wrong was during recovery, I wound up catching meningitis, which is extremely fatal and can be fatal, okay? It can be very bad. It can kill people. This was because of a miscalculation with the steroids, basically. So I was able to recover from the first surgery, but you have to teach yourself kind of how to walk again. And you have to learn that no matter how well they did with the surgery, your balance is affected. And you have to learn now how to catch yourself. So I had to be homeschooled because I couldn't go back to school when I was going to have to get taken out again for another surgery. So sit home, next surgery. Same thing. I'm able to bounce back pretty quick. And this whole year was spent out on homeschooling and just recovering, really. And one of the greatest things that happened to me during this time, though, were the rumors that floated around about me, okay? People saw me out with the staples in my head and everything else. There were rumors that I got attacked by some guy with an axe. There were rumors that I got jumped. All this other stuff, man. I was like the biggest badass in school, and I wasn't even there for the year. That was a whole year of my life, though. And the reality is that this was my first battle with NF, but it wasn't going to be my last one, okay? And this month is NF Awareness Month. The reason it is such a big deal to me is because of how it has impacted my family just across the board. You know, my mother is now blind and deaf from her battle with NF2. My uncle, my cousins, they all fight. There's constant worry in the back of our minds. It never ends. And that's why on May 17th, we're going to do a live and we're going to have an auction and do our best to raise money for the Children's Tumor Foundation. Because NF fighters, if you will, deserve somebody who's looking out for them. And the Children's Tumor Foundation is doing their best. I hope you guys understand why I had to take a look back here for a minute. Because in order to go forward with my story, you needed to understand what NF was and how it has affected me. And again, I appreciate all you guys staying with me during this journey. And I'll see you all next time on the Chronicles of the Bearded Dad.